Tony Khan thinks Shawn Michaels blew any chance he had of winning Booker of the Year last night. But that's pretty strong talk for a guy that lost the Tuesday Night War by 300,000 viewers. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling. And Tony Khan today was bashing Shawn Michaels, downplaying Shawn Michaels as a booker, downplaying Shawn Michaels as a promoter, and basically disrespecting Shawn Michaels, saying he had no chance of winning the Booker of the Year award. Now, does he know that because Dave Meltzer is up Tony Khan's ass and that he knows that he has to win that award every single year? Maybe that is the case, but he was saying this before the ratings were released. He must have thought his Tuesday night title night was good for AEW Dynamite, but it turns out it wasn't that good because they drew over 300,000 viewers less than Shawn Michaels is NXT, the so-called guy that has no chance of winning Booker of the Year. So Tony Khan put out a tweet on Twitter. He says, quote, "Thank you all who watched AEW Dynamite Title Tuesday last night. I thought last night was one of our best shows that we've ever done. The fans in Kansas City were tremendous. The wrestling was great, and last night was the best birthday that I've ever had. Thanks to you all." End of quote. So some random guy, and by the way, that's fair enough, Tony Khan, if him celebrating his birthday by watching fucking wrestling is the greatest birthday he's ever had, then good for him.
I'll tell you what, I don't know what age he is, but he must have had about 40 shit birthdays.
I mean, he's 41 going on fucking 12, I think.
This guy's 41, he actually is 18.
Oh, fuck 18, well, she's act like he's 18, right. Maybe 8. Anyway, so some
I'm not Shane.
I'm not Shane, I'm Tony. So some guy replied to Tony Khan. He says, "We were watching NXT, big dog." And Khan's response was, quote, "Then I wasn't talking to you, and you don't even follow me, so why reply? Question mark, end of quote. Then another person posted an AI photo of Shawn Michaels holding a Booker of the Year award, and some of these AI photos are crazy. Have you seen some? There was one with John Cena and Randy Orton on a yacht, smoking cigars, looking like fucking mafia men.
I'd like to get that sort of, software to produce things like that.
But either way, so some guy posted a picture to Tony Khan showing Shawn Michaels being awarded the Booker of the Year while puffing on a big fat cigar in a suit and a tie and with his hair back and just looking like $1,000,000. And then Tony Khan replied to this guy and he says, quote, "Actually, I'm pretty sure that last night blew whatever chance he had at winning that award." End of quote. So Tony Khan said that last night blew it. If Shawn Michaels was in the running, if he was in contention for Booker of the Year, the show that NXT delivered last night blew any chance he had of winning that award. But it turns out, a few hours later, we find out after a lot of people saying it was one of the best NXTs possibly of all time, the ratings were released and NXT done its best rating in what? Years. I mean, we're talking, I believe 4 years, maybe 5 years, and it smoked Dynamite by 300,000. So yeah, the so-called guy that's got no chance of being Booker of the Year has just annihilated Tony Khan in the Tuesday night rating wars.
The only thing wrong with this thing about Shawn Michaels is he's probably got a wee bit more hair than what he's actually got in that AI photo. But yeah, Tony Khan, who cares? It's Dave Meltzer's award. He's going to rig it for him anyway. Like, do you want to think Triple H and Shawn Michaels care about what Dave Meltzer thinks? Of course they don't. No, and you know what? They know that ratings talk, and the ratings talked last night. And Tony Khan, did he honestly think that NXT was going to get beat by Dynamite? We all knew this. I mean, Eric Bischoff predicted it within 6,000. I would have been shocked if it was the other way about. I mean, they whipped out Taker and Cena. And what Dynamite whip out? Jobbers. I mean, they actually... Do you see what they did with MJF? In the whole quarters thing?
Nope.
Bloody, they're against Jews on AEW Dynamite. Just Robinson came out with a roll of quarters and it said Friedman on it. And apparently they're like, oh, that's a dig at Jews because of the whole Hamas situation. Maybe Tony Khan's got ties to Hamas, damn it. But, yeah, created controversy, but not cash.
Aye, didn't create any cash, didn't create any ratings either for Dynamite.
And for him to say it's the best one ever, I mean, I actually don't know what the best Dynamite is ever, to be honest. I think they all suck.
But it doesn't matter what you think of AEW Dynamite because Tony Khan thought this was one of the best shows that the company has ever done. And he was so confident in this show that he believed it was going to smoke NXT, it was going to smoke Shawn Michaels, and it was going to send a clear message that Tony Khan is the man and that he is a better booker than Mr. HBK. But that turned out to be totally false, because NXT absolutely destroyed AEW in the ratings, over 300,000. It was one of the best NXT shows of all time, in my opinion, with some of the biggest stars in wrestling history. We're not talking about bringing some people from the Raw brand or bringing some people from the SmackDown brand. We're literally talking John Cena and The Undertaker, guys that are undoubtedly in the top 10 of all time. AEW don't have anybody in the top 10 of all time. We're talking guys here that could easily go on a Mount Rushmore. Those guys were available to NXT. AEW doesn't have that, and I think Tony Khan will come crashing down to earth. Maybe he'll be a bit more respectful. Maybe he'll think before he speaks from now on, before he starts bashing Shawn Michaels or Triple H online. And there was an interview with Hawes of Wrestling. They spoke to a source close to WWE and NXT this morning, and they said it will be a clear example of how and why WWE is WWE and AEW has a long way to go. And that source discussed how they felt AEW had been lulled into a false sense of reality and that they were somehow an industry leader by continuing to beat WWE's number 3 brand in viewership. And I think that's exactly what's been happening here with Tony Khan. He's been so used to beating NXT that he somehow thinks AEW is on par with World Wrestling Entertainment. And in reality, all he has done is beat the development show. He's not been beating Raw. He's not been beating SmackDown. And we can just see over the past couple of months, when you've had some Raw guys appear in NXT, the gap has been getting closer and closer. And then last night, when WWE decided to send the big guns to NXT, they completely smoked AEW. So I think this is going to be a harsh sense of reality for Tony Khan. It's going to be a hard pill to swallow, and he's going to have to swallow it because he's been talking the big man. He's been bigging himself up. He's been bigging his company up, saying that tonight was one of the best AEW Dynamites of all time, saying it was one of the most important AEW Dynamites of all time, saying it was one of the biggest Dynamite shows that he'd ever done, and it was Title Tuesday, basically putting as many titles on the line as he could. He went all out with this show. He did the same 30 minutes free television. He had a 15-minute run-off period after the show. He also had a pre-show before the event even started. So Tony Khan went to try and put on the best Dynamite that he possibly could, and it just failed against WWE and NXT. So yeah, maybe this guy should be more respectful. He was bragging the other day as well about how he's got more money. He called Shawn Michaels a bald asshole, and he said he's got more money than Shawn Michaels and Triple H combined. But at the end of the day, Shawn Michaels and Triple H both created their wealth. Tony Khan had it handed down to him by his dad. So I mean, who's really been successful here, and who's just been lucky that he's been born with a silver spoon in his mouth? Honestly, Tony Khan is no different for Shane McMahon. Well, the only thing I would say is Shane McMahon actually ventured off and created things and had a bit of success on his own. Everything that Tony Khan's done, he's literally done with his dad's money. Did Shane get a little bit of help from Vince? Absolutely. But has Tony Khan created anything? No. The Jacksonville Jaguars was his dad's football team that he runs. Fulham Football Club is his dad's football team that he runs. And his dad might have gave him the money to start AEW Dynamite. AEW Dynamite might be Tony Khan's, but it was his daddy's money that funded it. So I just think Tony Khan needs to fucking sit down and get a grip. The guy's 41, acts like a fucking child on Twitter. The best thing Tony Khan could probably do is delete his Twitter, or hopefully Elon Musk removes him from it, because he just makes a fool of himself every single day. His company's shite. It's going down the drain. The viewership is decreasing every week. It's been going down rapidly now for the past year. The viewership is declining, not just on Dynamite. Rampage now absolutely sucks. Collision is completely falling off the cliff, especially since CM Punk left. And you've got to factor in, like, on Saturdays, there's so many WWE live events now on Saturdays that any time, whether it be a WWE one or an NXT one, Collision's taking a massive hit in the ratings. Also, you look at attendances, the average AEW show, I mean, they're putting all the fans onto the TV hard cam, and they're blackening out the top sections of the arenas to try and make it seem like it's full. But I mean, in reality, they're in like stadiums or arenas that can hold 15, 20,000, and they've got a couple of thousand in there if they're lucky. This looks small time, and I think it's just Tony Khan trying to pretend and trying to believe this company's a lot better and a lot bigger than it is. I mean, it's not WWE, it never will be WWE. I mean, TNA, at least they stayed in their lane. TNA knew that they couldn't tour. TNA knew they didn't have the backing and the fans and the support and just the global sort of appeal that WWE had. But Tony Khan seems to think that his company has already surpassed WWE, and he's got a rude awakening this past week. The fact that he's been beaten comfortably by the development show. Now, what would happen if Tony Khan moved Dynamite to a Friday night? What would happen if he ran against SmackDown and WWE decided they wanted to put Taker on SmackDown? They wanted to bring The Rock back on SmackDown. They wanted to have Big Match John have a match on SmackDown. What do you think the Dynamite rating would fucking look like? You know, it would be well under 1 million, 500,000. So, yeah, just is what it is. Tony Khan absolutely sucks, guys. So does his company. It's hard to like AEW, especially when they're run by a jackass like this. I mean, I don't get it. People love to bash Vince McMahon, but I mean, I don't think Vince McMahon has ever acted the way that Tony Khan has. Is Vince McMahon ruthless? Yes, but sometimes to be successful, you have to be ruthless. Tony Khan's just a little bitch crybaby who acts like a child online. That's what it is, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below. But yeah, Shawn Michaels completely destroyed. And Shawn Michaels didn't even have to say anything. The guy just booked NXT. He just did a normal show. Like it was just your average day of the week. He didn't try and brag about it and get bragging rights, and he's completely destroyed Tony Khan. He didn't need to insult Tony Khan. He didn't need to say anything negative about Tony Khan. I mean, I don't think Shawn Michaels has ever mentioned Tony Khan. So, yeah, Tony Khan. I think Shawn Michaels is living in Tony Khan's head rent-free. That's it, guys. Catch you in the next one. Fog Wrestling. Peace out.